Having secretly liked each other since we were in junior high, we finally got together, but on the night of the first day of sophomore year, while scrolling on my phone, I saw him post a line, "The old flame cannot compete with the arrival of fate." I hurried to find him, only to see a girl leaning in his arms. The look in my childhood sweetheart's eyes was gentler and more indulgent than I had ever seen. After a moment of stunned silence, I turned and walked away without looking back. On the first night of sophomore year, while scrolling through moments my boyfriend posted, "A childhood flame cannot compete with fate," and then instantly deleted it. I called him, but the other end was a nightclub, noisy voices, music, the clinking of glass, all mingled together. "Zheng Yuan, where are you?" I felt a vague unease in my chest. "Not in the dorm." A few brothers said, "Come hang out, have a little drink." Zheng Yuan said, "Chung, go to sleep early." I gave a faint touched up my makeup quickly, gripped my phone, ran downstairs and headed straight for the west gate of the campus. Not far from the west gate, there is a street with bars, mid-range in decor, reasonable prices, 2 or 3 places are their little bases. I rushed straight over, but didn't find anyone. Connecting the dots, I recalled the old flame cannot compete with fate, hoping fate would go to the best, so I walked into the most upscale bar on this street, found Zheng Yuan there. The dorm mates were all present, and a girl sat beside Zheng Yuan behaving intimately. A group of people playing dice and drinking. I passed by. "Ah, I lost again. Brother Yuan, help me drink." The girl half leaned on Zheng Yuan, half closed her eyes, looking drunk and coquettish, her voice sweet. "Okay, I'll help you drink." Zheng Yuan smiled like a heroic champion. He had one hand on the girl's waist, the other hand extended to take the drink. My eyelid twitched sharply. The 3 male dorm mates were teasing. "Drink a couple more, drink a couple more." I said nothing. A surge of energy pressed against my chest, and I leaned sideways onto the partition of the private room, coldly watching the 2 main characters, Zheng Yuan and the girl. Perhaps my peripherals caught sight of my hand pausing at the lip of the wine glass, and I raised my chin in a provocative glance at him, making a motion for him to continue drinking. He set down the glass, stood up with a smile, and "Zhong, let me introduce you to my newly recognized sister Ju Wei Yue. This is my girlfriend Song." Nang Hai. Zhang Yuanchao reached out to grab me. Ju Weimi gripped Zheng Yuan's sleeve, swayed as she stood up unsteady and collapsed into Zheng Yuan's arms. Zheng Yuan pulled her close, awkwardly explaining to me, "Nanchang, he's had too much to drink." I watched them with their hands on each other's waists, teeth clenched in anger, grabbed the bottle, almost trembling as I poured a full cup upside down. Zheng Yuan didn't notice I was angry at all. He held Ju Weiwei, carefully set her on the sofa, then turned to me. "Nanchang, what are you doing? You can't drink that much for him." After I finished speaking, I splashed a full cup of beer onto Zheng Yuan's face. People around gasped, mixed with whistles. Zheng Yuan's face was full of astonishment. He wiped his face, scanned the surroundings, suppressing his anger. "Nanchang, are you crazy?" My nails dug deeply into his flesh, and only then did I force my voice to calm down. "Zheng Yuan, we broke up." I turned and walked away, and from the corner of my eye I saw at the neighboring table the person whistling was the school bully Jiang Yang. He lounged back on the sofa, his shirt sleeves casually rolled up, one hand holding a glass of wine, tilting his peach blossom eyes in a half-smile, watching me with a look that was half amused, half mocking. I rolled my eyes at him. I was in a bad mood and despised people who pretended. When I left the bar and the night wind hit my face, my tears fell and all my strength dissolved before they cooled. Zheng Yuan and I had known each other since high school, a mutual long-distance crush for 3 years. After the Gaokao, the first thing he did was confess to me. The second was to check the answer sheet. Our scores were similar, and our Gaokao volunteer choices were identical. I thought all love would blossom, lovers would end up together, but I hadn't anticipated that the flowers would wither, love would be scarce, and a fated love would be surpassed by a celestial arrival. That night no one knew that I sat by the lotus pond at the school for 2 hours until the dormitory gates nearly closed, and only then did I go back. 3 the next morning, I went downstairs with the girls from my dorm. Zheng Yuan appeared at the base of the girls' dorm with breakfast, the roommates teasing as usual, saying he was a model filial son, asking why I hadn't rushed over yet since we had broken up. He was delivering breakfast to his new girlfriend. And I couldn't squeeze out a single smile, remembering we had just broken up last night. My tone was even more ironic. Men, really seamless transitions. The roommate smiles faded, and they wore expressions that avoided saying more. Evening mood. I walk toward the canteen on the south wall. Zheng Yuan catches up with me. Can we talk? I stop in my tracks and say, completely letting go is impossible. 4 years of feelings through confusion and guesses, once sweet enough to make me cry. I sniff. The dorm's first person pats my hand and leaves with the others, leaving me and Zheng Yuan. Zheng Yuan hands me the breakfast. I don't take it. I'm waiting. He explains that Zhu Weiwei and I are innocent. I simply treat her like a sister. She drank too much yesterday. Don't you think brother-sister is gross? Gross. How could you say something like that? Chung, we've grown up. This is normal social interaction. Girls should learn to be magnanimous, not so petty. It wasn't that I laughed in annoyance when I saw it. Wasn't it what I saw, or is it what I'm thinking? Hugging and toying around. Since when did that become normal social interaction? Zheng Yuan pauses for a moment, opens his arms and comes toward me. Bam! The basketball lands squarely on his forehead. I follow the ball's trajectory and see Jiang Yang and a group of younger brothers walking over. A crew in sports uniforms, foreheads and chests covered in sweat. Obviously, they just finished playing, the hormones of youth exploding in the surrounding space. Sorry, slippery hands. Jiang Yang smiles casually, his eye corners lifting in a sly tilt. He glances at Zheng Yuan with half a fraction of authority, then passes me the basketball picked up by the younger brothers, and the group struts away. All 4 Zheng Yuan's words are held back, until Jiang Yang and his crew leave. Then he suddenly lunges forward and grabs my wrist, interrogating, "What is your relationship with Jiang Yang? Why is he backing you up? Didn't you hear him? In this world a school bully acts by slipping where there is no reason. One shouts at injustice." Zheng Yuan sneers. "Last night after you left, Jiang Yang personally came to wreck something, and it was also a slip of the hand with a beer. I don't know, the South Wall didn't expect you to be such a person." Zheng Yuan grits his teeth. Zheng Yuan's heaven-sent Zhu Weiwei pretended to be a super academic star. He, from the Chinese department, runs from dawn till dusk to our economics and management department, cross-discipline and cross-department skimming classes, skimming so thoroughly that both major and public courses are attended. As long as Zheng Yuan doesn't skip class, he guarantees they'll attend their major. Does he have no classes, or did she finish 4 years of university coursework by sophomore year through self-study? Girls from the same dormitory looked at her with obvious dislike. A student of Chinese language and literature came to listen to a finance class. Could she understand it? I turned my head to glance at the back section of the lecture hall. Zhu Weiwei was sitting beside Zheng Yuan, and next to him was a boy from Zheng Yuan's dorm, giving off a bit of a starry entourage vibe. When he saw me looking at him, he lifted his chin high and the corner of his mouth curved into a provocation. I was speechless inside. I whispered to the dorm girls, "Must have a genius aura, don't bother with her." The dorm girl pursed her lips, then turned to glare at Zhu Weiwei. "Strong guy, you should be a bit more thoughtful." He's clearly flaunting himself. "Now the whole class knows you two broke up. Not that you were dumped." I hummed in acknowledgement, reminding my roommate to listen to the class. "Sigh, how can you still understand what's being said?" I'm about to explode with anger. My roommate's hand holding the pen trembled silently on the desk. I really want to say that knowledge is more important than love, but saying that now would be pretentious, so I just clenched my jaw. I was dumped. Yet the person who is criticized, laughed at and discussed should not be me. The roommate let out a sigh, his gaze turning to the podium, and just then the young associate professor called the roommate's name, asking him to stand up to answer the question. The essay question was easy to pass. The associate professor smiled, his gaze dropping embarrassingly onto Zhu Weiwei. The female student next to Zheng Yuan didn't seem to be from our major. Someone in the front row spoke up, the Chinese department's people, who had come to love our major. The associate professor smiled gracefully, pushed up his glasses and made a welcoming gesture. After teaching for several classes, he suggested answering the question, preferably with one's own viewpoint. There is no ready-made answer for the essay question. Even with Zheng Yuan nearby offering hints, Zhu Weiwei still answered haltingly and incoherently. The associate professor asked him to sit down and listen carefully since he came to attend the class. The roommate seemed to have won a battle. quickly moved closer to whisper, I was right, wasn't it that either a top student or here to provoke you? I gave him a helpless look, signaling him to pay attention or the lecturer on the podium would be called out again if he didn't listen seriously. 6. After class, I was tidying up my books when I suddenly felt that the surrounding atmosphere was off. His brick-like professional books slammed heavily onto my desk. I looked up to meet Zhu Weiwei's furious face, followed by Zheng Yuan in a rush and his roommate Song Nanqiang. What do you mean by that? He stood one step higher than me and roared like a lion from the east of the river. What do you mean by that? I asked lightly, my gaze sliding over Zheng Yuan's name printed on the professional books. His books were treated like junk by you and you didn't even realize it. He loves books as life. Zheng Yuan grew up poor, and only in middle school did things improve. He cherishes every book, not a single crease is on them, and his notes are always neat as ever. I looked at Zheng Yuan. This is your new girlfriend. Zhu Weiwei turned along with him, eyes bulging wide, awaiting Zheng Yuan's explanation. Zheng Yuan looked at Zhu Weiwei, then at me, the entanglement in his eyes clearly visible. Eventually he placed one hand on Zhu Weiwei's waist. Just a book, it's only a book. I repeated his words softly, as if my heart were cut by glass splinters, very thin and deep. Zheng Yuan indeed was not the same Zheng Yuan I knew. I almost mocked myself, my fingers brushing over his textbook, pulling it up and handing it to him. Zheng Yuan reached out. Zhu Weiwei was faster, grabbing the book first and starting to throw it at me, face first and headlong. People around them were screaming. I swore I hadn't intended to hurt him. It was purely reflex. Right arm blocked, left fist swung unintentional. A howl of sorrow escaped Zhu Weiwei's lips as she bent over, crying like pear blossoms in the rain. Brother Yuan, he hit me. In class he deliberately made me look bad and he beat me. I looked around, cried out at the top of my lungs louder than him, wailing, you all saw it, he hit me first. I was simply acting in self-defense. How much strength can my girl Jojo have? Don't be fooled by him. In the same class, same window for a year. How many people have dropped Zheng Yuan? I rushed to introduce a new girlfriend and bring her to the classroom, and when not satisfied, people immediately discussed it, needed to save face, came to sponge off class, and even bullied our female students. Just as the book was slammed down, who knew there would be a concussion? There's reason to fight back. Why should we not strike back? If you ask me, the fight was a good one. Zheng Yuan couldn't hold it on his face, pulling Zhu Weiwei away from me in a hurry, wiping away pretend tears. After packing up, I walked out of the classroom with the roommates. A whistle from behind. Jiang Yang leaning against the wall near the door, wearing a single earpiece, chewing gum, flirting as he watched me. Hey classmate Song, nice to meet you. His hip jutted forward, his body swayed into a beautiful arc, instantly standing straight like a pine on a mountaintop. I'm Jiang Yang, third year logistics, your senior. I gave a soft grunt. The doctor is aware, and the roommates continued to leave. Not far away at a corridor corner, several boys made catcalls, winking at Jiang Yang, waving encouragement. Jiang Yang caught up with me, his body leaning toward me, lowering his voice to say, I've never chased a girl before. How about we exchange WeChat IDs first? I burst into laughter. The famous campus tyrant Jiang Yang has never chased a girl before. So does this mean you're planning to chase me? I asked jokingly, turning slightly. Jiang Yang is a full head taller than me. My face only reaches his chest, and when I talk to him I have to look up. He purses his lips, his eyes and brows are all smiling, and the firm jawline softens because of the smile. I notice a blush on his ears. Quietly creeping up, I take out my phone, scan his QR code and add a note. Jiang Yang Shuachang. He steals a glance and changes my note to South Wall. The junior sister is angry. Back at the dorm, the girls in my room circle around me, giggling. Stronger guy. As far as I can tell, Jiang Yang is much better than Zheng Yuan. At least his eyes aren't wrong that Zhu Weiwei is obviously spoiled and domineering, and in our class she dares to hit someone. Now she's definitely bottling up her temper. Zheng Yuan will have no say in the future. Not to mention, Jiang Yang's looks directly crush Zheng Yuan. Okay, if I had money, I would already be in Jiang Yang's arms. Even knowing which walled shower is on, he has surely done his homework. I look at them with a huge shadow in my heart, yet I still smile. I'm just an ordinary girl. I have vanity too, having just been dumped by my boyfriend. And if someone pursues me now, and he's a guy not inferior to fate, I'd be a little happy. The appearance of Jiang Yang feels like a beam of sunlight piercing through layers of darkness and shining on me. I lower my head, fiddling with my phone. The screen lights up before the ringtone, the call from Zheng Yuan Song Nanqiang. What do you have to say now? The tone of questioning. I don't even know what is questioning, what a position he has to question. Me, what do you want to hear? The once flaring flame in him has extinguished when he mentions a book. What remains are cold ashes. When did you and Jiang Yang get together? When did you betray me? That night in the bar I already felt something was off. On what grounds does he stand up for you? Do you know who he is? He's the campus bully at Nanjing University, fights and car stunts, even teachers can't handle him. If you're with him, how can you justify yourself to your mother? Aren't you afraid he'll swallow you whole, leaving no bones? What do I have to say? At noon the next day, while eating in the cafeteria, I again felt Zhang Yan's powerful aura. She came in with a group of people, and the surrounding students spread apart, retreating to the sides like a wave. I thought, would the school bully actually come to the third canteen? Weren't he always quietly plotting behind the scenes? I heard that yesterday he confessed to a beautiful girl from the Economics and Management Department and decided to descend to the mortal world. At the neighboring table, someone discussed how my roommate bumped into my arm. I watched Jiang Yang watching the cue and giving them the green channel directly. Watched Jiang Yang glance at me, then frown, speak loudly and righteously. What are you doing? Do you want to cut in line? Stand in line properly for me. I laughed with a pinch of my cheek, unable to pry out the hearts of the crowd, so much like it, those at the front, originally slow and leisurely in choosing dishes and clocking in. After Jiang Yang stood behind them, their speed more than tripled. Everyone was busy rushing, afraid of delaying Jiang Yang from eating. 100 South Wall. Junior sister, we meet again. Our dorm leader wrestled my hand away with effort, and in a voice Jiang Yang could hear clearly, feigning a whisper, said to behave. We call this divine assist. Jiang Yang looked at him with approval. From now on, the dorm matters will be mine. The dorm leader's sycophantic demeanor was obvious. Thank you, Senior Jiang. I gazed at the ceiling in resignation, and out of the corner of my eye I saw Jiang Yang's wrist and the chopsticks swaying 1, 2, 3, 4 times, as if picking food for me. I lowered my head, and I noticed that in the plate I had almost finished there appeared a chicken drumstick, 2 meatballs, 3 to 4 slices of beef. Me, do I look like I can eat this much? I stared at him in confusion. Eat a bit more. Jiang Yang smiled, a hint of something affectionate in his eyes, his chopsticks clean and unused. Yet I was already full. I looked at them, stretched toward them in a barely audible voice, ashamed of wasting food. Then you pick for me, he smiled, nudged the plate toward me. I looked at his chopsticks, then at mine, and decisively stood up, went to a nearby disinfectant cabinet and fetched clean chopsticks. When boys eat, it's like a whirlwind. I was still wondering how to stylishly offer to go first when he had already cleaned his plate, not a grain of rice left. He looked at me, as if waiting for what, a request for praise. I'd like to remind him that Jiang Da, the campus bully, eats with me. That's my little setup. He handles it. Exactly right. How did you know my name? Do you have time this afternoon? We both spoke in unison, my words not yet finished. I guessed he wanted to invite me shopping, to watch a movie, to play crane games, something like that. I don't know him well, so I immediately found a legitimate excuse. I have class. Great, I've always wanted to crash your economics and management department classes. Take me this afternoon. What? I gaped in astonishment at him. Isn't a campus bully only responsible for fights, bullying, and showboating? Does he also need to attend classes? Ave, at least you should maintain your cool persona. Jiang Yang smiled, stood up and leaned his upper body forward. He looked at me as if I were a rare treasure. I froze, and I saw him raise his hand and point my chin, his thumb pad brushing over my lips. Like a feather, I could barely breathe, trembling backward. Having dated Zheng Yuan for quite a while, our most intimate actions were only holding hands and hugging. He had never touched my lips. What was I so nervous about? Jiang Yi lowered his voice, the corner of his lips curling into a slow, lazy smile. Everything around us blurred into a background in this moment. In front of me was only him. Only him. I said nothing, watching him as if facing a formidable enemy. My heart beat thunderous. There was a small bite at the corner of my mouth, a partial explanation for his reckless behavior, but I stared at his empty fingertips, and 2 words roared in my mind: a lie. What he touched just now wasn't the corner of my lips, but the place where lips puffed out. Clearly he was teasing me. I accused the class, and watched him grin, dragging his voice, saying, "I'm leaving," then picked up 2 more plates and returned them to the recycling station. My roommates were treated the same as me. The guys helped them collect the plates, and after meals we returned to the dorm. My roommates buzzed about how Jiang Yang looked far away but was even more handsome up close, utterly devoid of any taste. They also said that when he touched my mouth, they thought he was going to kiss me. Countless people whipped out their phones at the moment. Kissing could be illegal. You didn't resist, so why didn't I resist? I felt wronged. I just moved a little less vigorously. Ha 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 ha. Before class in the afternoon, after leaving the dormitory building, I specifically scanned the surroundings around me. No one was waiting for me. I let out a sigh of relief. That's great. Jiang Yang forgot that he said he would skip class, and I was really afraid he would bring 7 or 8 or 13 or 14 boys into our classroom. At that time my understanding of campus bullies was rather superficial. I thought no one loved studying, that everyone was a study-slacker. In my assumption, their place of class would surely be noisy enough to anger the mentor and make him blow his cork, but as the saying goes, nothing good comes without risk. As soon as my roommates and I sat down, we saw Jiang Yang lead a group of young men in. They carried pens and notebooks, looking quite the part. I kept my head down, wishing I could bury it in the desk. Yet my little helpers, yes, they stood up as one, tiptoed toward Jiang Yang and waved to Jiang Bai, and even left spaces on both sides for Jiang Yang. Do you have even a touch of sympathy? Others long for something they cannot obtain. What sympathy do I deserve? Sigh. Daytime doesn't understand the darkness of night. Little sparrows don't know the hardship of cranes. Jiang Yang soon sat next to me. While my roommates were flanked by other boys and seated at the back of the classroom, I sighed silently, feeling bitterness in my heart. I had just been forced to end a relationship and did not intend to use a new romance to heal. Younger sister, later when the professor reveals your weaknesses, you help me. Bring Yang close to my ear. The scent of oriental wood and masculine hormones hit me, and my ear lobe felt seared, so I shifted to the side. Jiang Yang let out a low, pleasant laugh, just one sound, but it was as beautiful as the night zither. I suppressed my racing heartbeat, not daring to look at him, thinking to myself, you, during your first time skipping class, how could the professor be so reckless to point you out? When the 10th bell rang for class, a young associate professor walked into the classroom. He had looked at me and Jiang Yang, and there was a trace of amusement in his eyes. That softened, but his expression darkened. He directly called the names of 3 of my roommates and told them to sit in the first row, his gaze sweeping over a few couples in our class who were dating, and specially scanning over the 2 of us who had been innocently shot. His tone was cool and crisp. Read more, date less. Reading can set you free, but love cannot. I held a huge suspicion in my heart. Looking at the back view of one of my roommates, I felt that the associate professor paid more attention to him than just a little. Around 4 o'clock, Jiang Yang nearby flipped open my book and placed it between us 2. While we read together, our heads inevitably drew close for this lesson. Jiang Yang's sharp-tongued remark hit the mark. The associate professor kept nitpicking and asking him questions one after another, each harder than the last. I tried to answer softly, but Jiang Yang didn't need my help at all. The economics case just poured out, leaving the whole class stunned. What happened to our logistics specialty? You're actually in the same major as us, aren't you? After 3 questions, the professor addressed Jiang Yang and us. Students from other majors know better than you. What face do you have? It must be that I set the bar too low in my daily requirements and there were too few assessments. From this week on, every Wednesday's exam will be 30% harder than before, and the grade will count for 40% of the final score. There was a wail in the classroom. The associate professor's gaze swept over my roommates, and I was touched by Jiang Yang's resentful, watchful eyes. Jiang Yang paid no attention to the others, only whispered comfort to me. It's okay. I'll fill in the gaps where you don't understand. On call anytime. I, a top student in the economics and management department, being taught by a logistics major. Do you want me to tutor you? Have I lost face now? I clenched my teeth and shot him a look, secretly vowing that next exam I would score above 92. This masterful move from Jiang Yang in this class completely changed my view of campus tyrants at our school. The bully isn't just a bully, but also a brainiac. In this class, I always felt a resentful gaze from some corner of the room. I didn't even need to look back to know who it was. A guy like Zheng Yuan, a conventional and narrow-minded man, simply cannot accept that his ex-girlfriend has a new male friend so soon, the one he himself warned to stay away from, yet he still studies extraordinarily well. 11 Jiang Yang's deeds in our class were posted on the campus forum, and the original poster was filled with too many astonishments. The school bully has hacked the system. This is too amazing. This is unscientific. The replies to him are all from 3rd and 4th year seniors. What's unscientific about it? Jiang Shui has long been worshipped. Before you guys entered the campus, we had already been completely crushed. That group around him, you think they are lazy and incompetent, but in fact they are the alliance of top students. What is a top student? It is someone who gives their all, working overtime to study. They look at it and they'll understand. There is no legend of a study god in the world. 1 is unattainable, and 2 they don't want to put pressure on you juniors. I let myself calm down, and the first person that came to mind was Zheng Yuan. A few days ago he asked me in such a condescending tone how I managed to end up with Jiang Yang, saying Jiang Yang was the campus bully at Nanda, fighting, driving reckless, and that even teachers couldn't manage him. If he saw this post, he would fear it would rain on today's class. The post was quickly escalated. Before reaching the second page, people said he was chasing me, others said the whole world knew. By noon, I saw that we had eaten together, with photos proving it, not just one. Some of him feeding me and me returning the food to him and him touching my lips. For the first time I looked at the scene from an onlooker's perspective, especially that one who was rubbing her mouth using an ill-chosen word. The side profile of Yu Jiangyang was so perfect, unbeatable, as if the next second she would kiss him. The couple of floors behind us were shouting and howling, saying he was too handsome, etc. I browsed for a while, found it dull, and only secretly saved a few photos of me and Jiang Yang. Not sure why, perhaps some strange fate. My roommates were gossiping when suddenly someone shouted South Wall loudly. I understood why Zheng Yuan dumped you, that Zhu Weiwei whose family runs a jewelry business. A relative of Jiu Jiao. Jiu Fei is his cousin. What? I almost subconsciously thought. Who is Jiu Fei? The husband of that popular painter, the country's top venture capitalist, on TV all the time. My roommate kindly explained it to me, and I felt completely tangled. It's not that I don't know who Jiu Fei is, but Jiu Fei is my cousin. He has and only has one cousin sister, which is me, and my family also does jewelry business. For a moment I even wondered if I would end up with a sister raised elsewhere. I hurried out of the dormitory and chose to call Jiu Fei between my mother and Jiu Fei. I asked him, besides me there were no other cousins, and the answer was no. He asked me to send Zhu Weiwei's photo to her. I dug up a photo of Zhu Weiwei and Zheng Yuan in class from forum posts, cropped out Zheng Yuan's part, and cropped out the person next to him as your boyfriend, who seems to be Zheng Yuan's ex-boyfriend. After emphasizing, I asked again, how did you find out if it wasn't him? Why would you guess? These days there are many people clinging to power or posing as socialites. Given your personality, if you had no involvement you wouldn't call to verify. I let out a sigh. Talking to smart people, you really can't keep a single secret. Jiu Fei chuckled softly on the other end of the call, his tone lightly teasing. So you got dumped, or did someone pretending to be you steal your boyfriend? I don't want to say a word. Such a melodramatic matter isn't even something a novel would dare to invent. Back then no one at the school knew about my family's situation, and my dad often told me to stay low-key. When you're high up you see only smiles, but behind those smiles, you don't know how many people want to pull you down, drag you into the mud, and you wouldn't expect someone who's gone too far with being low-key. I will be abandoned by a boyfriend from an equally ordinary family because of my ordinary family background. Jiu Fei sensed my mood was off and tried to comfort me. Alright, such a man isn't worth it. Many years later you'll thank him. Remove the needle. He paused for a moment. This Zhu Weiwei looks somewhat familiar to me. Give me half an hour. After half an hour, I looked at the messages on my phone and sent a note to Zhu Weiwei. Her father, Zhu Fuguei, is one of the drivers for my cousin's company, and her mother, Li Yuhua, is one of the maids in my cousin's household, specifically responsible for sweeping and dusting. How are you planning to beat the South Wall? Do you need my help? No need. I believe in the principle that a gentleman helps others achieve what they can. I look forward to to them entering the hall of marriage. To preserve the face of the top student in the Department of Management, I spend every day, besides eating and sleeping, reading and gathering information. The associate professor said that this exam is 30% harder than before. The meaning of 30% harder is not that one can cope by expanding 30% of knowledge, but that at least the knowledge reserve must be doubled. The library is the place I spend the longest every day and the place I encounter Jiang Yang every day. He always sits when he comes beside me, and you come every day to witness his genius in learning. Now I wouldn't be surprised by anything he does. No, you come and I come. He looks at me with his peach blossom eyes, his smile incredibly handsome. If you ever don't understand a problem, I'll be nearby to guide you. I pucker my lips and raise an eyebrow, the little me in my mind activating a mode of mockery so arrogant you'd better beware of slipping into the gutter and thinking about something else. He leans in with a warm breath brushing against my face just a few centimeters away, but I end up tilting my head the opposite direction. Almost slipping off the chair, he suddenly grabs me, and the surroundings fill with gasps as many pairs of eyes fix on us. What are you doing? My voice is small and sharp, my cheeks burning. I'm pulling you. His expression is innocent, saying it's natural to do so, otherwise you'd fall. I want to swear at him. If it weren't for you, I'd have fallen, but there are just too many people watching us around. I endure it, and in a fit of bad temper I forcefully flip the page back in the book. Jiang Yang snickers. I catch a glimpse of this detestable guy, and he smiles like a trickster fox stealing stars. In the 15-4 final exams, after the papers were handed out, the classroom was filled with wails. The failure rate hit a historic high. The associate professor singled me out for praise. 94 points, the highest in class. I had told you to study more and talk less about dating. You should learn from Song Nanquang, who used to score around 85, but this time, with a 30% portion of the questions attempting, I scored 94. Someone in the audience objects, reporting to the teacher that he has experience. A super, who accompanies professor when every day. Oh, what does this indicate? It indicates that love is not a hindrance. The key is who you're with. If Jiang Yang in my class had been 94 instead, I could have scored 100. It shows that close to vermilion you become stained red, and close to ink you become black. I couldn't help glancing at Zheng Yuan. Their group, including Zhu Weiwei, all lowered their heads, wishing they could melt under the table. Not just Zheng Yuan, the whole dormitory layout was a disaster. In the saying that the near-inked becomes black, Zhong Weiwei is the vice professor of ink. It was also said that who you are with really matters, but more important is making yourself excellent. If I bloom, the butterflies will come. Next Wednesday we will continue with exams. I hope everyone will study well. Knowledge should not only be broadened, but deepened. 16. That evening the dormitory had a dinner gathering. Agreed to celebrate that I scored first in the whole class at a high-end restaurant outside the east gate of the school. To bring glory to our dorm. Fine, I'll treat. The per capita spend was close to 500. Our dorm had several girls from different family backgrounds, mostly from the working class. It's not that we can't afford to eat, but after eating it would hurt to pay. How could they let you treat us to such an expensive place? The dorm leader placed a hand on my shoulder, saying the joint dorm they would treat, and the venue was their choice. A private room had been booked. I was not surprised. There is only one joint dorm relationship for our dorm, which is the dorm of Zheng Yuan and them. After they broke up, the two dorms no longer interacted. We would see if they looked down on us. They would feel awkward. Why is everything like this? Why still eat together? Why ask why? The dorm leader seemed to hear an unbelievable question. All that needed was a bit of a fancy meal. I pondered. Zheng Yuan, provoked by the adage that the near red becomes red, the near black becomes black, felt that mutual effort was more important. Bibo fought over who gets to eat first because it tastes better. When I was totally focused and around no male at all, he discarded me as if I were rubbish. When a more outstanding guy appeared beside me, his possessiveness surfaced, determined to wrest this tasty prize away. Discovered that Zhu Weiwei's rich heiress identity was fake. I was the real rich young miss. No, impossible. Even more impossible is that 8 people across 2 dorms. If Zheng Yuan alone pays the bill, it would cost nearly 4,000, enough to make him feel pained for 2 months. If 4 of them pay, one person would pay 1,000. What gives? They aren't the ones chasing girlfriends, right? I have a faint guess in my mind, but it's uncertain and I won't ask. From the restaurant into the private room, it's indeed Jiang Yang. She and 3 other guys sit on the sofa, smoking, playing do de jus. The sparks flare, white smoke clings to the fingertips. Seeing me come in, Jiang Yang is the first to extinguish the cigarette. The others follow suit and stamp out their cigarettes, noisy and bustling as they stand to open a window for ventilation. When did you all become our association dormitory? Jiang Yang raises an eyebrow, the look seeming to say, you don't know. The dormitory head is just as astonished. After a moment he suddenly understands. During the dinner at the canteen last time, you and Jiang Shui did it, we and the others did it, and in the chat we formed a few association dormitories, but later forgot to tell you. I thought you knew me. I don't know myself as a science student, but at this moment I'm showing off my sensitivity to numbers, and several of my voices rise and fall in a single breath. Judging by his meaning, it's not just 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The dorm leader pretended to count on his fingers, looking very gloomy. 7. They're so enthusiastic that I'm afraid soon we'll have to take turns eating meals. I'm really too lazy to reveal the dorm leader's careful ruse of sadness. His lips are almost up to his ears. You wouldn't have 7 dorms by yourself, would you? I look at Jiang Yang and feel a foreboding sense. Could it be that after this Jiang Han paused, the others, my brother's dorms, would make me half an honorary roommate? What the heck is an honorary roommate? He means he'll come to the joint event for 7 dorms by the time this meal is almost finished. I pretend to go out to take a call, ready to settle the bill. This kind of favor should not be owed if possible, especially when it involves money. Since we're students, a few thousand yuan isn't small, and I don't want to get entangled with people over money. Out of the changing room along the corridor, I never would have dreamed I'd run into Ju Weiwei. When she saw me, she obviously paused, then walked over with the air of a queen. Oh, isn't this Zheng Yuan's ex-girlfriend? How she was just dumped by Zheng Yuan and now, just a few days later, dumped by Jiang Yang again. She's fallen so low she even has to settle bills herself. Her voice wasn't quiet, and she even glanced toward the payment counter. This place isn't cheap to eat, so don't cry when you pay later. I itched to hit someone and I wanted to mock her. Do you know how hard your parents work to earn money, and you sucking their blood still dares to belittle me? I held back and looked toward the bar counter. Again, didn't you just go pay? Why didn't Zheng Yuan go to pay? You 3 scrambling here, snagging a little 7's boyfriend. And I ask you, are you guys at a loss? Ju Weiwei's face didn't look very good. He raised his left hand and showed a bracelet on his wrist with a rose and gold flower chain, flashing it under the light on purpose. The guy you like just gave me something bright and flashy, right? You've been with him for so long, hasn't he given you anything? I smiled. All the things from yesterday. Such as yesterday's death. Zheng Yuan, who has more than 1,000 YSL bracelets, really never gave me one. Too expensive. The most expensive gift he gave me was a lipstick worth a little over 200. Then for several days he said it was too expensive, might as well buy one for 30 or so. Not everything that's bright and flashy is good, it's just markup from branded artificial crystals, not valuable in itself. I hesitated for a moment, feeling a twinge of calculation in my heart, and I heard that your family sells jewelry. You wouldn't even bother looking at such a thing, would you? To be flashy, at least diamonds are presentable. Ju Weiwei's expression worsened a bit, and at this moment Zheng Yuan's voice came from behind, quite severe. Song Nanyang, I didn't expect you to be so money-minded. We're still students, yet you keep talking about diamonds. It's enough that the gift is appropriate. Ju Weiwei seemed to find a backbone, flirty as she stepped forward, half of her body leaning on Zheng Yuan. Taunting me. Yuan Gij, you're right, as long as the gift is appropriate. I really like the bracelet you gave me. Zheng Yuan hummed once, one arm around Ju Weiwei's waist. The look in his eyes toward me was resolute. Then he turned and looked at Ju Weiwei with a loving gaze. The sparkling video only matches your sparkling life. Ju Weiwei revealed a shy, coquettish expression, but I always felt she took the script wrong. If he is so vain as to pretend to be a rich heiress, how could he be attracted to Zheng Yuan? It doesn't matter, none of my business. I clapped vigorously. Well said. I'd give that glitzy line 100 points. But Zheng Yuan, Ju Weiwei, and I are different. We're not from small households. If you truly mean it, you'd better show some sincerity. Don't let people laugh at you. Zheng Yuan's face darkened. The look in his eyes toward me could be called venomous. He pulled Ju Weiwei away and left. Only then did I notice that Jiang Yang had somehow also left the private room. He leaned against the wall, tall and slender, one hand in his pocket, listening to how much he heard. Zheng Yuan and Zhu Weiwei walked past him without a word, and I still had unfinished business, so I turned toward the bar. Jiang Yang said that when I came it was already settled. He paused, perhaps purposely speaking so Zheng Yuan could hear that as long as I was around he would never let a girl pay. When I turned back to him, he gently stretched out his right hand and patted my head, the legendary head pat with masculine hormones mixed with the scent of oriental wood, brushed against me, playful. His voice was very soft, full of smiles, utterly indulgent. In that moment I admit I felt my heart flutter. My heartbeat pounded wildly. He withdrew his hand from his pocket, and his fingertips traced a four-leaf clover, mother of pearl necklace. The nacre is gentle and soft, refracting a delicate luster. It's a gift for scoring first in the entire class. He spoke as he put the necklace around my neck. The necklace had been held for too long, the warmth of his hands as he carefully adjusted the clasp, but due to his inexperience with such actions, his fingertips frequently touched the delicate nape of my neck. That touch, again and again, was clearly very light. Yet it was as if skimming across a string of sparks. I instinctively wanted to refuse, not only because the price of Eskia products wouldn't be under 5 figures, but also because he and I weren't intimate enough to be at that stage. Jiang Yang, don't move, he interrupted me. His breath brushing against my neck, his voice a touch softer. Very beautiful, very matching, you're too tall. I hadn't finished speaking when Jingyuan and Zhu Weiwei turned their heads. I forced the two-syllable word to throat a bit louder. Gorgeous, understated luxury. I like it. Jiang Yang giggled softly, with a flavor that was hard to describe, as if there was regret left unsaid. I didn't know how to answer, and he also grabbed my hand, pulling me into the back room. After sitting down I pretended to eat normally, but the hand he had pulled over felt like a wave of heat. 19 After dinner we went to the arcade again to play for a while, fishing, basketball shooting, racing, claw machines. 8 people left with 2 keychains, 5 lollipops, and a pile of prize tickets. Jiang Yang suddenly said, TVs are all lying. All of us watching her. So naive words. Does your campus tyrant brainiac think it fits? He was grim and stern. Every claw machine CP grabber grabs a big one. Why can't I grab anything? Pursuing girls isn't easy for me either. I recalled how hard he had just clawed at the claw machine, as if ready to scuffle with it. I wanted to laugh. The cashier was laughing too, taking a frog plush from the shelf and saying, Sir, you just top up 500. This one is for you. May your chase be successful. Jiang Yang took the frog plush, stuffed it into my chest, stuck both hands in his pockets, looked around awkwardly, feigning coolness as he summoned everyone away. He walked off and the rest of us followed, everyone stifling their laughter. His ears were enormously red. 20 Back at school I looked for a chance to fall behind Jiang Yang while the boys and girls from our dormitory walked farther and farther away. I stopped, unhooked the necklace and said, Frog, I'll take it. The necklace is too expensive. I can't accept it. His hand slid over my neck to clasp my own hand, and he calmly said, Fake, fake. I lost my composure. With my eyes I could tell the truth from a lie. I've grown up immersed in various brands and jewelry, and I can tell real from fake at a glance. In an instant he seemed to see what I was thinking. Put another way, even if it's real, compared to the bracelet in your hand, it's not worth mentioning. I was stunned again. On my wrist is a bracelet made from Hetian jade seed material, its color smooth and white with 2 streaks of raisin red, carved by a master into 2 koi fish. Those who don't know the trade would think it's just a cheap street-adjacent apartment. In fact, it's worth 7 figures. Do you know jade? We stood very close, our breaths tangled together. No one understands, he said. That one I've seen before. I always felt it looked familiar, and just remembered it. 21. The frog plush sits on my small bookshelf by my bed, the 4-leaf clover pearl shell necklace hanging around my neck. He won't take back the gift worth over 20,000, so I look for a chance to give him a gift of equivalent value. That's that. At night, the roommates gossip, mostly news brought by Zhang Yin's roommate. That's when I learn that Zhang Yin's family runs the largest logistics business. The logistics company is his family's. He is the only son, the heir to a vast logistics company. So she studied logistics and has extensive knowledge in economics and finance. I learn that Jiang Yang really has never dated anyone. The good parts he uses on me, the flirtatious gestures, the light touches, the sudden closeness and even the clawing at the plush toys, are all things he's recently learned from short videos to compensate. Strong and capable. I think Jiang Yang and Jun can work, not to say anything else. But given that she's never dated anyone, there's no way she'll fail to try for a first love that's pure as moonlight. Plus she's a top student, the prodigy who easily outshines others. She would be the heiress to the city's largest logistics company. Indeed, a rich second generation. You'd marry into a life where you could be a mistress of domestic luxury rather than toil for 20 years. They say I understand all this. The one thing I don't understand is what Jiang Yang sees in me. It can't be that she's attracted to me for the way I drink at the bar and join S forum. Jiang Yang's post there has become extremely popular, and in just a week the replies reached 32 pages. I transformed from the pretty girl in the School of Economics and Management into a glamorous goddess, and the only discordant voice is someone ranting that I was dumped by Zheng Yuan, that I don't deserve Jiang Yang, telling me wherever I came from to get the hell out. The jealousy in their words almost overflows the screen. Many people liked it, many people responded, and the highest praise reply was, "Get lost, whether I deserve it or not is none of your business. I'm still pursuing and haven't succeeded yet." I smiled sheepishly for a while, the image of her charming red ears flashing in my mind, and felt that this tone was quite inconsistent with his true self. Then I anonymously replied twice. One reply said I don't deserve Jiang Yang, and behind that I think the jeweler's daughter suits Jiang Shui better, a match made in heaven. The right family background. The other reply was at the end of the main post. Just now I saw Weiwei's bracelet, so beautiful. If you don't understand, ask, is it diamonds? Too luxurious. Then I screenshot the necklace Jiang Yang gave me, and posted the price image of the same style from a flagship store on Taobao, with the caption, "This is the first time I've received such an expensive gift. The Tongta police are with Zheng Yuan and those few boys who share a dorm. It shows I've never added Ju Weiwei on WeChat, but I believe she will see it. I Song Nanqiang have never been a devout believer. If someone bullies me, I will give them a choice between two. Sigh. Punch them straight and let them know why the flowers are so red. A blunt knife cuts flesh, leaving them skinless and battered. 24. Thanks to Associate Professor Yang for being so strict. We have exams every Wednesday, which scared me into taking it easy. Only one night, early the next morning, I went to the library with my books, and in front of the dormitory building I ran into Jiang Yang just back from playing basketball. Still a large group of people greeting the dawn, each one taller than the next, each one sturdier than the next, each one more eye-catching, and the most eye-catching was Jiang Yang. I suddenly remembered a sentence I had read before. It's not youth that is passionate, but our south wall. Jiang Yang's voice rang out, and she easily jumped out from the noisy crowd with a light. "Hi, this needs." I greeted her with a smile while the inner little me curled up and stuck out its tongue. Yesterday she was still called an elementary school junior by someone. Today I called her by her full name directly. A few people around Jiang Yang were cheering. How odd, timing it to say you're coming down, asking us to hurry and accompany him. They ran into a game that hadn't finished yet and chopped it off at the waist. Brother Yang asked us, is basketball more important or your girlfriend? Senior Chin from the south, did Brother Yang finally win you over? Jiang Yang looked embarrassed, smiling as she nudged the people nearby. Get lost all of you, go back and take a shower. The boys laughed, saying he's a bit ruthless, then turned around and left him for me. I had breakfast with Jiang Yang, and on the way to the library he said I read too much every day and exercised too little, and proposed that I jog every morning with her joining me. I have no interest in morning runs at all. I believe life lies in stillness. You see, 1,000-year turtle and 10,000-year turtle. Before I finished speaking, I sensed the atmosphere nearby was a bit off, so I changed my tune quickly. Then I considered it, does considering equal politely refusing, but someone seemed satisfied. By the way, last time I saw you land that punch on Ju Weiwei, the stance was so practiced. I've learned Taekwondo, Karate, and Sonda. I've studied them all, but only superficially, not thoroughly. Back then, the school bully, my dad worried I'd be bullied, and I hadn't finished speaking when I realized he was that well-known formidable figure. I quickly cast a glance at him, and to my surprise he didn't mind at all. Instead he was beaming with interest, wondering if I wanted to pick it up. And I nodded. I'll train with you, brother. You're chasing girls now. You should at least follow the standard dating script. Is asking a girl out to spar appropriate? Jiang Yang answered me with his eyes. Appropriate, extremely appropriate. In the afternoon of the 25th, Jiang Yang really booked a boxing room and simmered for 2 hours. I was astonished beyond words. I originally wanted to refuse outright, but listening to his enthusiastic voice, I somehow felt a twinge of pity, so I went along and we sparred a bit. Even under his constant waist-not-watering style, I still got defeated step by step, and finally I collapsed on the ground, not bothering with a girl's modesty, lying flat on my back with my limbs spread. Jiang Yang spoke in a teach-me-a-lesson tone. You're already exhausted so soon. All those years of training were for nothing. If you really encountered a thug, you wouldn't be able to fight at all. Get up and fight me. I barely lifted my eyelids, annoyed, and said, Jiang Yang, are you crazy? You deserve not finding a girlfriend. A straight man's cancer at your level is unmatched by anyone. Earlier I had been blind to think he was so capable. He was taken aback for a moment, leaned in closer, his gaze aligned with mine from above. It was bright, like flowing water, like stars. All the world's brightness seemed to be in those eyes. He blinked and asked, then what? Will you teach me? I was dumbfounded. His face drew closer again, his soft lips meeting mine, light and gentle as clouds, as feathers. I had never known kissing could feel this way, just the touch of lips on lips. Yet it unsettled my heart and made my mind race. Rationality and emotion intertwined. Rationality shouted to stop, emotion wanted to continue. I finally understood what it meant to be unable to stop, what it meant to do what one knows is impossible, what it means that a moment of opulence surpasses countless moments in the mortal world. After a long while, it seemed the wind had calmed, the autumn cicadas outside were quiet, his voice was hoarse, his breath a little heavy. Have you and Zheng Yuan never tried? I softly said yes. He was in a very good mood. His lips once more touched the corners of my eyes and brows, and his tone was filled with laughter. And since I hadn't tried either, one kiss after another began. Many years later, when I recalled the scenes again, I vaguely remember the sun was just right, slanting in from the window, the scent of sweat and hormones interwoven, unusually enticing. He said that he didn't understand anything. Luckily you didn't either, otherwise you would have despised him more. I smiled and replied that now you understand. He said, we should learn from each other and make progress together. From that day on, my relationship with Jiang Yang truly took a major step forward. I ran with her in the mornings, watched him play basketball, and bought water for their group. He would act cool, show me his brothers smiling and calling me sister-in-law. He would dine with me, study with me, take me to the cinema, and after exhausting a lot of funds on crane games, his crane game skill got better and better, until eventually he won every time. I'm not a sentimental person. Whenever someone asked me how things were with Jiang Yang, I would tell them openly that we were together. As for Zhu Weiwei, under my comment that he and Jiang Yang suited each other more, someone said, don't even think about it. Jiang Yang already has a girlfriend, she's doing well. Someone said he isn't worthy of a top student, a straight A student, or a scholar, let alone someone who's a slacker. Some people even unearthed his past love letters to Jiang Yang, and I asked Jiang Yang if that really happened. He said he doesn't remember. So many confessions over the years, there's no way to base it on. I scoffed. Are you showing off? He said. I'm just stating the facts. I don't believe you. If you remember every person who sent you a love letter, I'll remember too. He raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. These things aren't important. What matters is that the gossip mongers at our school each act like Sherlock Holmes. Some people said the shining thing on Zhu Weiwei's bracelet wasn't real diamond, but faux crystal, a classic rose bracelet from a certain brand. Some unearthed her daily attire, accessories, and bag prices. There are luxurious items, but only to this extent. The family is mostly middle class, and the supposed heiress of jewelers and the Gu family's relatives don't match this image at all. Someone even took apart domestic famous jewelers one by one, saying the only Jew surnamed child lived abroad, and someone said there are no Jew relatives in the Gu family's direct relatives, which Zhu Weiwei herself faced off against the top tycoon. It's your turn to talk big. A bunch of locals who can't have grapes claim sour grapes. They say I don't have top luxury items. That true top luxury is things you can't see, the antiques, the high-end bespoke items. If money speaks, it doesn't stay hidden from sight. That night, I was admiring Zhu Weiwei's online forum tirade with Zheng Yuan's mother on the line. I thought she was going to ask about a breakup, since to some extent Zheng Yuan and I had also met the parents, but I didn't expect him to start criticizing, asking what I had been doing lately and how I spent so much money on her son. I casually asked 5,000 in the past month. Zheng Yuan asked for 5,000 more from his family. Mother Zheng said that university is a place to learn knowledge, not a place to show off money. What did you buy? Sort it out, return what should be returned. I won't quarrel with you over this. The condescending tone is nothing like the Zheng mother I knew in high school. Young and still hasn't learned to earn money, yet she has learned to spend it. If you go down the wrong path it's okay, but don't corrupt my daughter. Yuan, do you know how hard it is to make money as a wife? You must learn to be virtuous and considerate. I fell silent. This tone seemed to tell me for sure that I could only marry Zheng Yuan. Auntie, I and Zheng Yuan have already broken up. What? His voice was sharp, piercing enough that I quickly moved the phone farther from my ear. My roommates were all watching me. Zheng Yuan's mother's voice clearly reaching everyone's ears. Spent money and break up. With such family upbringing in your home, I'm not good at dealing with people. The eldest of the dormitory frowned and came over to grab my phone to speak for me. But I didn't let him. I opened the speaker, leaned the phone's receiver close. First, the money wasn't spent by me, it was spent by your son's new girlfriend. Second, it's a matter of family education. If you ask your conscience, you've been playing both sides, courting favor with the powerful, finding a rich young lady so you wouldn't have to struggle for 20 more years is your family's tradition. Mrs. Zheng was stunned for a moment and the previous anger vanished in an instant. Whom did he bring? His tone could be described as gentle and affable. I understood in an instant and cooperated with a tone of envy, jealousy, and hatred. It's said to be the daughter of a jeweler. She eats, wears, and uses all luxuries, frequents high-end places, very moneyed. Mother Zheng let out a laugh. Yuan is so outstanding. No matter if she's a jeweler's daughter, she could even be a princess and deserve it. My roommates and I looked at each other. Where did this confidence come from? That 5,000 yuan? I probed inwardly. All sarcasm. 5,000 yuan, what does it count? Mother Zheng was in high spirits, unusually frank. With such a girlfriend, spending 10,000 a month would be worth it. As for you, consider it a fate that Yuan and you are destined but not fated to be together. I remained silent. As long as you're happy, Auntie, for Zheng Yuan's future, I won't be a stumbling block anymore. I wish him and the rich young miss a lifetime of happiness. Zheng's mother snorted. Fine, you understand the situation. I smiled and casually started a thread on the forum with the title A Jewelry Merchant's Daughter's Daily Life. As the topic says, feel free to post. Vanity is a cup of poison, and once a lie begins, it often requires countless sources of deceit to prove she is a rich young mistress. Zhu Weiwei performs trickery to flaunt wealth. Chanel today, Gucci tomorrow, Prada the day after, LV the following day, and Balenciaga the day after that. She even has his father chauffeur her once with a Rolls-Royce and a Maybach from cousins' family. Every time he posts on social media, someone takes a screenshot and posts it on the school forum, eliciting or truly a top-tier rich person, rivaling what appears in dramas, with nothing less than perfection. I watch plays every day usually to see him and Zheng Yuan show affection, have big meals, receive gifts, and watch Zheng Yuan's dating funds burn. In just a week I estimate Zheng Yuan has already spent the 10,000 yuan his mother planned to use, seeing the crowd around her grow almost on par with Jiang Yang, with 4 or 5 people coming and going, sometimes more than 10, raising the wind and summoning rain. Very impressive. When I clearly saw him strolling toward me, carrying either counterfeit or replica bags, or clearly borrowed designer bags and jewelry from the GU family, he asked me, a girl from a poor family, if I had seen them. I have never seen them, and I always answer the same thing with a smile. I've never seen them. Miss Zhu Weiwei was very smug. Zheng Yuan smiled, his right hand firmly pressed against Zhu Weiwei's waist. I guess she had never been so resolute in her entire life. Marrying into a wealthy family, from then on a life of wine and carnal pleasures. How many people dream of it? Zheng Yuan's look at me was almost disdainful of the world. Zhu Weiwei satisfiedly raised her chin, casting Jiang Yang a provocative gaze as if asking, do you regret it? Jiang Yan snorted coldly. 2 big letters. Joke. were almost written across his forehead. Why not expose him? Because my insatiable greed knows no bounds. I never bury anyone. I want her to dig her own grave. I don't know how large her 28-week frivolous expenses were, but I do know that Zheng Yuan's living expenses and dating funds were quickly exhausted. He did something I despise extremely. She came to me, asking me to refund the money he spent on me during the dating period. He came prepared, carrying an A4 sheet printed Excel table, clearly recording dates, meals, bubble milk tea, watching movies, or clawing plush toys, or taxes or Valentine's Day. The money he spent on giving me lipsticks, some shared expenses, some purely money spent on me, totaled 2,832 yuan. Take a look. If there's no problem, transfer the money to me. WeChat or Alipay both work. I didn't get angry but smiled instead. Zheng Yuan, you wouldn't think I haven't spent money in over a year, right? Those are chump change. I pointed to his Excel sheet. 8 yuan for milk tea, 11 yuan for a ride hail. Those are big expenses. His expression became a bit awkward. I have a habit of keeping accounts. Fine, I'll transfer to you. I don't want to talk to him more. My gaze fell on his watch. I remembered that watch was given to him by me, so my spending wouldn't be considered excessive after all since I don't keep accounts habitually. Just return that watch to me and it will be fine. He quickly took off the watch and I quickly transferred 2,832 yuan to him. Jiang Yang stood beside me and spoke 2 sentences after Zheng Yuan left. The first was, "What kind of taste is this? How did you end up with such a person?" The second was, "He doesn't recognize that watch. If he knew that he lost a watch worth over tens of thousands for just over 2,000, he would regret it to death." I smiled and thought back to when I gave Zheng Yuan that watch. I didn't really consider its value. I just thought it looked good when worn. A few minutes later, at the entrance downstairs of the library building, Jiang Yang whirled around fiercely, pinning me to the wall with both hands on either side of my head. Without explanation, he lowered his head and kissed me fiercely, as if he wanted to gnaw me apart and swallow me whole. I pushed him but couldn't move him. After a long while, his movements grew gentle, entangled and lingering, as if an endless yearning could not be expressed. I tried to speak several times, but he blocked me each time. Surrounding students came and went, countless gazes fixed on us. My cheeks burned hot, and I sorely wished to dig a hole and jump in. South wall. "I like you." Jiang Yang's voice was very low, his breath brushing my lips. He had liked me for a long time, and what had happened just now was only a tease. His voice became quieter, and now he was steady. My heart fluttered at his breath, and I was so nervous that I forgot to ask when he started liking me. 29. Zheng Yuan and Zhu Weiwei's romance lasted only 2 months. On the day they broke up, they fought fiercely over a watch, one that Zheng Yuan used to wear on his wrist, which I later took back in class. A group of them sat at the back of the room as usual, gossiping. At some point Zhu Weiwei suddenly lost her temper, slapped the desk, and the whole person stood up straight. But the deputy professor at the podium hurried out in a rush. The teachers by the podium drew their attention to Zhu Weiwei. Immediately after, Zheng Yuan, to win back his girlfriend, dashed out without hesitation. I did not dare to look at the dean's face. It was disorderly and undisciplined. Any future romantic encounters in class would be kicked out. The deputy professor roared. I privately felt relieved that Jiang Yang was not clingy. In our class, he had only shown up 2 or 3 times and then returned to focusing on his major in the 3rd and 4th years. Zheng Yuan's voice came from outside, ignoring the class time in a public place. "Zhu Weiwei, what exactly are you angry about?" "What I'm angry about? You don't know, you poor thing. If you don't have money, don't pretend to be a rich second generation, and don't even urinate in a mirror. Do you think you deserve me? When did I ever pretend to be a rich second generation? I've always told you the business our family runs is a small business like yours, and small businessmen can't just casually wear a watch worth over 100,000. You're pretending to be rich, to eat tigers." The outside quickly quieted. I clenched the wristwatch I had in my backpack, and suddenly understood something I hadn't thought through before. Zhu Weiwei, a person who loves vanity like her, how could she fall for Zheng Yuan? What he liked was clearly Zheng Yuan's supposed low-key rich second generation status. "Chung Chung, Zheng Yuan, that watch seems like you gave it to him." Roommate leaned over to ask me in a hushed voice. "Fortunately you're coming back in a few days. It's more than 10,000. A chalk piece hit the roommate squarely on the forehead. The roommate glared. cheeks puffed, staring at the podium where the deputy professor now recovered his dignified demeanor, looked on with righteous anger but unable to speak. I lowered my head and answered the roommate's question softly. Fake. Again, a chalk piece hit the roommate's forehead. I silently mourned for him for 3 seconds. The day after tomorrow was the exam. From my ears came the deputy professor's cold and merciless voice, and the students had long since become used to being abused. Only a few seconds of wailing, and countless eyes looked helplessly at my roommate. 30. Zheng Yuan waited outside the classroom, and when I saw my roommates come out, we hurried over. Chang isn't the boss, he knows I'm not very capable, and like a protective guardian, he pulled me back. The three of us formed a protective barrier, and immediately began to bombard him. I've never seen anyone with such thick skin. They say my family's Chang is rich and generous, and that makes him want to turn back. Get lost. After all you did kneeling and licking Ju Weiwei, our whole class watched. Now your licking failed, you come to our Chang again, and you don't even think about whether Chang can be reached by you after the breakup. You even want the milk tea money back that's due. You really make the boy's reputation go up. Zheng Yuan didn't care about these accusations. What he cared about was that watch. His eyes reddened, he looked at me intently without wavering. Chang, was what Weiwei said about that watch true? It's fake. I just wanted to see him flustered. He doesn't know it's a limited edition and the actual price is double what he claimed. Zheng Yuan's face twisted into a grimace. Didn't you say your family runs a small business? You were just being modest, worried I'd feel inferior. Our family's upbringing teaches that one must have empathy. There's no need to show off. Zheng Yuan's expression grew even more unreadable. Weiwei and I only see her as a sister. Believe me, I was led astray. I never truly liked her. The person I've always liked most is you, and that hasn't changed. I looked at him as if he were a stranger, unable to sympathize with his emotions. Zheng Yuan, how did you become like this? Dignity is a good thing, you should cherish it. Zheng Yuan paid no heed. He was already frantic, ignoring the stares and whispers around us. He stepped forward to grab me. My roommates and I stepped back in unison. And at the end of my sight, I saw Jiang Yang sprinting over. He moved quickly. Just as Zheng Yuan was about to touch me, he grabbed Zheng Yuan's arm, twisted it, and flung him away with a thud. Zheng Yuan crashed into the wall, and Jiang Yang followed with a flying kick to his chest. No explanation, no apology. Nanxiang. Are you okay? It was the only thing he said to me. I shook my head. This was the first time I'd seen Jiang Yang get violent. The legendary school bully didn't need a reason to fight, he just did it. He nodded at his friends who had rushed over, then took my hand and led me away. I could feel his anger, and hear the sounds of Zheng Yuan being beaten by the group behind us. I didn't look back, huddling like a little quail as I let him lead me. The watch I rambled about earlier isn't a custom-made one. Did I scare you just now? We spoke at the same time. And as soon as I finished I regretted it. He pulled me into the crook of his arm, my back pressed against a tree. He looked down at me. A custom-made one. I thought to myself, this is bad. Last time he got jealous. He'd pinned me against the library door and kissed me for ages. I acted decisively, standing on tiptoe to kiss his lips. This is private customization. He paused for a moment, then quickly broke into a smile. So sweet, your first move. There will be many more in the future. I swear I did it purely to calm him down. The implication was that this would end today, but he pressed in again and said something about coming here to not molest me. So crude. Clearly it's a lustful place. He's addicted to kissing. 31. The unilateral group beating was under consideration by the school authorities of pros and cons, reduced to a minor issue and swept under the rug. Jiang Yang and the others only wrote a self-criticism. The punishment amounted to almost nothing. He is a legend at Nanjing University. Ju Weiwei has been the most talked about figure lately. Zheng Yuanjia has become the school's biggest joke among them. She didn't attend classes for a whole week. Zheng's mother called me again, unusually polite, saying her daughter Yuan was temporarily bewitched by a ghost to act so strangely, saying that a high school romance with Ju Weiwei is the purest, without any selfish interests, claiming that I and Zheng Yuanlang are a perfect match, with the implied meaning that any other boy who pursues me or approaches me or likes me is doing so for a purpose. He says he only acknowledges me as his one wife. I burst out laughing. Auntie, please don't say that. How could I possibly be worthy of your son? Your son is going to marry a princess. Wee Song family's junior member knows her place. Cannot hold back your son. After dating your son for more than a year, I spent a total of 2,832 yuan on him and I have paid it back to him in full. Don't call me again in the future. Save on phone bills to treat my eyes. Zheng's mother yelled from the other side. Chang used to be Yuan. No, you are the princess. You and Yuan are a perfect match. I hung up and blocked the number. I have zero interest in mentioning this name Zheng Yuan at all, but I must bring up what he did afterward. Maybe the pressure from his family was too great, or perhaps he was too distressed by the money spent on Zhu Weiwei after staying in the dormitory for a week. The forum hype about Zhu Weiwei had just started to drop, and he immediately blocked Zhu Weiwei at the dormitory entrance demanding money. Over 2 months he spent more than 30,000 yuan. Zhu Weiwei called him a penniless bag, and paying back the money would be impossible. If you don't reimburse the loss of youth, that would be acceptable. But with this kind of behavior, I'm just sickened. The followers stepped forward one after another, saying that 30,000 yuan was only enough to buy Zhu Weiwei a bag, and after standing beside a rich young miss for so long, even if he was just pretending it's worth 30,000, Zheng Yuan was humiliated again, and they posted this on the forum, causing Zheng Yuan's heat to spike once more. After that, he fell into a complete slump, rarely attending classes. Even when he did, he seemed like an invisible man. Sometimes I wonder if there weren't so many temptations, perhaps he wouldn't be like this. Weiwei Zhu's reckless display of wealth ultimately led to 2 outcomes. First, the school conducted a cleanup, strengthening the ideological and moral education of students across faculties, promoting frugality, and prohibiting ostentation. It almost touched upon Weiwei Zhu's name. Second, the things he chose were not only those for group rentals and counterfeit items, but also pearl necklaces stolen from the Jiyu family, antique brooches, and my cousin's haute couture dress. I sent the photos to my cousin that day. Zhu Weiwei's parents lost their jobs and the 3 of them were summoned to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. This affair completely shattered the image of their precious daughter, and the online forums were filled with accusations. Later, after the police investigation, Zhu Weiwei and her mother were imprisoned for theft. The school seized the opportunity to educate us again. Vanity is an endless abyss, and this bridge has found its footing. As for my family background, besides Jiangyang, no one else knows. We've been together for more than 2 years, and both sets of parents have met. Now we plan to pursue graduate studies together. Jiangyang's father has a bit of a rogue air. When my mother saw them, she sighed softly and said, "Fate has come. Indeed, nothing can stop it." I only then learned that many years ago at a literary and artistic performance, Jiangyang saw me playing the piano and wrote me love letters which my mother kept. Jiangyang's father is very pleased with me since I appeared. His family's obedient son has become even more well-behaved, not only studying seriously but not even going to the races he once loved. I asked Jiangyang why he stopped racing, and he said it was to avoid worrying me and to take care of me for life. I smiled. There are butterflies outside the window. The end.